The research station Ilex Prime floated in the orbit of a cold, silent world. Its walls were made of steel, its air filled with the low hum of alien machinery. Scientists from across the galaxy worked there, proud of their advanced knowledge. They believed they understood every creature that crawled, flew, or hunted in the stars. They were wrong. On Deck 3, a storm was waiting inside a containment cell. The creature had been brought from a world the aliens called Earth. They laughed when they heard humans called it a death world. To them, that was just another myth, stories told by old spacers who feared the unknown. Deathworlders don't exist, they said. No species could survive a planet that dangerous. Now, the beast inside the cage was proving them wrong. It was huge, muscles beneath thick fur, claws that could cut through armor. It had been tranquilized 3 times, but the drugs barely slowed its breathing. The alien guards stood behind energy shields, holding plasma rifles, their hands shaking. One of them whispered, "It shouldn't be alive!" Then the alarms began. The beast moved. Its yellow eyes glowed like twin suns through the haze. 1 step and the floor shook. 2 more and the energy barrier flickered. The scientists screamed. One ran for the exit, another dropped his datapad and prayed. But then someone walked in, a human. He was tall, calm, and strangely quiet. His uniform was simple. Gray shirt, worn jacket, and an ID tag that read, Dr. Elias Corin, Terran Biologist. "What are you doing?" one of the aliens shouted. "That thing will kill you!" Elias didn't answer. He walked closer to the containment field, watching the beast carefully. The creature roared, smashing against the invisible wall. Its breath fogged the barrier, its claws sparking as they struck. "Deactivate the field," Elias said softly. The room fell silent. The alien stared at him as if he had gone insane. "You can't!" a scientist cried. "That's a predator from your own planet. It destroyed 2 cages already." Elias turned his head slightly, his voice calm but firm. "It's afraid. You're making it worse." Before anyone could stop him, he stepped forward and pressed the release panel. The energy shield collapsed with a hiss. The beast froze. For a heartbeat, there was no sound, just the deep, rumbling breath of the creature and the faint hum of the ship. Then it moved again, lowering its head, muscles tensing for attack. The aliens raised their rifles. Elias raised his hand. "Easy, buddy," he whispered. His voice was steady, almost kind. The words didn't carry command, they carried understanding. The beast blinked. The rage in its eyes softened. Slowly, cautiously, it lowered itself to the ground, lying down like a dog waiting for a master's signal. The aliens stared, unable to believe what they were seeing. Elias took another step forward and gently placed his hand against the creature's muzzle. The fur was warm, thick, and trembling. The animal let out a low rumble, not of anger, but relief. "There you go," Elias said softly. "You're safe now," the alien commander whispered. "Impossible." "How?" Elias didn't look back. His voice was quiet. "We call them predators, but we forget they're survivors. Like us." The creature's breathing slowed. Its eyes closed. The storm had turned into silence. Around the room, the aliens lowered their weapons, still stunned. No one spoke. The words "Deathworlders don't exist" echoed in their minds, now hollow and false. Somewhere deep inside the ship, the recorders were still running. They captured everything, the roaring, the fear, the whisper. Later, when the footage spread through the galactic net, billions of aliens would watch in disbelief as one small human stood before a monster and tamed it with nothing but a voice. For the first time in history, they realized something terrifying and beautiful. Humanity didn't conquer through strength. They conquered through calm, through heart, and the myth of the Deathworlders began to look less like a story and more like a warning. The next morning, the video of the incident had already spread across half the known sectors. Alien news channels called it the Whisper Incident. Millions replayed that short moment. The roar, the calm, and the impossible silence that followed. No one believed it was real. Some said it was a trick. Others said the creature was drugged or the footage was edited. But the scientists on Ilex Prime knew better. They had been there. They had smelled the fear. They had seen the human's hand rest on the monster's snout while everyone else was frozen. Commander Vesh, the one in charge of the facility, hadn't slept since. His hands trembled every time he replayed the footage. He watched the human's eyes. No rage, no panic, only quiet control. The word Deathworlder echoed again and again in his mind, a myth suddenly breathing in front of him. Elias Corrin sat in the observation bay, sipping dark coffee as if nothing unusual had happened. The beast, now resting in a reinforced habitat below, slept peacefully for the first time since its capture. When Vesh approached him, the human didn't even turn around. "You've started a panic," Vesh said coldly. "Half the council thinks you faked that." Elias smiled slightly. "And the other half?" "They're afraid." Elias finally looked at him. "Good, maybe they'll start listening instead of laughing." The alien frowned. "Listening to what?" "That humans are, what? Beasts with manners." Elias stood up and walked to the glass. Below them, the giant predator rolled onto its side like a cat stretching in sunlight. "You all think survival means dominance," he said. "For us, it means adaptation. We don't rule Earth because we're the strongest. We survived it because we learned how to live beside things that could kill us." Vesh stared at him in silence. The human's words felt like a threat wrapped in calm logic. Moments later, the intercom buzzed. "Commander, incoming transmission from the Galactic Council. Urgent!" They both went to the main hall. The council's holograms flickered to life, towering alien figures, leaders of dozens of species, their voices overlapping in chaos. "Is it true?" one demanded. "Did a human pacify a death beast with no weapon?" Another hissed, "What kind of world breeds such a creature and such a man?" Elias stood before them, hands folded behind his back. "We call it Earth," he said quietly. "You call it uninhabitable." The chamber went still. Even through the hololink, the tension was thick. "Explain yourself," one of the elder counselors said. "You risked lives. You broke safety protocols. For what purpose?" Elias met their many eyes. "To show you something you've forgotten. Empathy doesn't make you weak. Fear does." Murmurs filled the chamber. Some laughed. Others muttered the word Deathworlder again, not as mockery this time, but as warning. One counselor leaned forward. "And what happens when your kind decides to turn that calm into command?" Elias didn't answer. Instead, he looked down through the glass where the predator slept. "We don't want command," he said softly. "We just don't kneel." The transmission ended. The lights dimmed. Commander Vesh exhaled slowly. "You've just shaken the entire galaxy," he muttered. Elias smiled faintly. "Good. Maybe it needed shaking." Down below, the creature stirred, its massive eyes flickering open. For a moment, it looked up toward the observation deck, as if it understood who had defended it. In that quiet, the universe itself seemed to pause. For centuries, aliens had told stories about Deathworlders, violent myths from a lost system. But now those stories had a face, a human face, and somewhere deep in the dark between stars, other predators were listening. 2 days after the council meeting, the galaxy's news feeds were still burning with one name, Elias Corrin, the human biologist from Earth. Some called him a hero. Some called him a threat. But everywhere one question echoed. What kind of world creates someone like that? The Galactic Council held an emergency session in the capital system of Varanus. Hundreds of delegates filled the silver chamber, their voices clashing like storm waves. Holograms of the human and the beast replayed on every wall. The whisper, the calm, the impossible obedience of the predator. "He didn't subdue it," one alien shouted. "He commanded it." "That wasn't control," another hissed. "It was communication. You saw it lower its head. That thing trusted him." "And that," said a deep voice from the central podium, "is exactly what we should fear." The speaker was Grand Chancellor Raltoon, an ancient being of scaled blue skin and a voice like breaking metal. "A species that can turn predators into allies," he said, "can turn armies into followers." Silence fell. Even those who hated humans felt a chill. Meanwhile, back on Ilex Prime, Elias worked quietly in the observation lab. He didn't care about the politics. The creature, now named Ursa by the scientists, was healing. Its breathing had steadied, its aggression gone. Every day, Elias sat beside the reinforced glass and spoke softly to it, sharing stories of Earth, forests, rivers, rain. Ursa seemed to listen. Sometimes it even rumbled in answer, but not everyone on the station approved. Dr. Varn, the alien xenobiologist who had first captured Ursa, stood at the corner, his face tense. "You've made it too calm," he said. "It doesn't fear us anymore." "It fears nothing." Elias didn't look up. "It doesn't need to. It understands." Varn's voice rose. "Understand? It tore through security bots. It nearly killed us all. And yet," Elias said, finally meeting his eyes, "it didn't kill me." That simple sentence ended the argument. Later that night, while the station slept, a secret message arrived on a secure human frequency. The sender was from the Terran embassy. The message read only, "They're watching you. Be careful. The council won't let this go." Elias closed the terminal. He had expected this. Far away, in the council's high chamber, a vote was taking place. The proposal was simple: limit human research privileges and restrict Terran travel beyond the inner rim. But not all agreed. One counselor, a young scholar from the Lasari species, stood to speak. "I was on Ilex Prime," she said. "I saw what he did. The creature didn't obey because of fear. It obeyed because it trusted him. Tell me, what's more dangerous? A galaxy that fears humans, or one that refuses to learn from them?" The chamber erupted again, voices clashing between panic and admiration. Raltoon's final words silenced them all. "If Deathworlders truly exist, then the myths were warnings. And we have ignored them for too long." That night, the Council's Intelligence Division sent an unmarked ship toward Ilex Prime. Its mission: observe the human, learn his methods, or eliminate him if necessary. Back on the station, Elias stood before Ursa's enclosure. The creature's massive eyes glowed softly in the dim blue light. "You can feel it too, can't you?" Elias murmured. "They don't want to understand. They just want to control." Ursa's low rumble filled the air, a sound not of threat, but agreement. Outside the station, the stars burned cold. Somewhere among them, 1,000 civilizations were whispering the same fearful thought. Deathworlders don't exist, right? But deep down, even the bravest among them had begun to wonder. The stars outside Ilex Prime looked peaceful, but Elias knew peace never lasted long. He could feel it, the shift in the air, the way the guards whispered when he passed. The council had made its move. 3 ships had arrived that morning, silent and unmarked. Their crews wore no insignia, no colors, no words. They claimed to be engineers. Elias didn't believe that for a second. He kept working with Ursa anyway. The giant creature had become almost gentle now, following him with calm eyes. The alien staff avoided the enclosure, but Elias came every day. He brought food, cleaned the sensors, and spoke softly to it as if it were a trusted friend. That day, he noticed something new. Ursa wasn't just reacting to his voice, it was listening. When he spoke, its ears twitched in rhythm, and its breathing matched his. He wondered for the first time whether it truly understood him. While he worked, 2 of the supposed engineers entered the observation hall. They stood quietly, pretending to inspect the walls. Elias didn't turn around. "You're wasting time," one of them finally said. His voice was cold, mechanical. "That thing isn't worth study." "The council ordered a termination." Elias froze. Slowly, he looked over his shoulder. "You're not scientists." "No," the man said flatly. "We're containment specialists. The council fears you're teaching the creature too much." Elias sighed. "Funny, I thought teaching was what science was for." Before they could respond, a deep rumble filled the room. Ursa's head lifted. Its golden eyes glowed, fixed on the 2 strangers. The glass wall between them vibrated. One of the agents raised a device. "Stand aside, human." Elias didn't move. "Don't," he said quietly. "It knows." A second later, alarms screamed through the deck. The lights dimmed, the containment locks clicked open. The engineers turned in shock. The door to Ursa's cell slid upward with a hiss. The creature stepped out, slow, silent, enormous. Elias didn't flinch. He raised his hand again, voice steady as ever. "Easy, buddy." Ursa stopped, then turned, not toward Elias, but toward the intruders. The men backed away, hands shaking. "Command, we have breached. They never finished." Ursa roared once, a sound that shook the entire station. The air shimmered from the power of it. The unmarked agents dropped their weapons and fled. When the chaos ended, the corridors were empty except for Elias and the creature. The alarms faded. The only sound left was the steady breathing of the beast beside him. He rested his hand against its thick fur. "You didn't have to do that," he whispered. Ursa lowered its head until it touched his shoulder. It wasn't aggression, it was comfort, protection. That's when Commander Vesh arrived, eyes wide with fear. "What have you done?" he gasped. "Saved your station," Elias said simply. Again, Vesh stared between the human and the creature. "They'll come back with more ships." "The council won't stop now," Elias nodded. "Then we won't stay here." "You're running?" "Not running," Elias said, glancing toward the viewport. "Moving forward." Outside, in the cold silence of space, one of the unmarked ships was already sending a transmission to the council. "Subject has control over the Deathworld beast. Human must be contained immediately." But deep in that same signal, hidden between the code lines, another message appeared, a transmission sent by someone on the station, encrypted and marked with Terran frequency. He's alive. The Deathworlder myth is real. The Council's headquarters on Varanus Prime was chaos. Dozens of reports flooded in. Ships damaged, containment breaches, frightened scientists abandoning their posts. But one transmission froze them all. Subject Elias Corrin escaped containment. Predator intact, both untraceable. The words echoed through the chamber like a ghost. Grand Chancellor Raltoon slammed his clawed hand on the table. "You let a Deathworlder escape? With a beast from his home planet?" No one spoke. No one dared. Across the galaxy, fear spread faster than light. Every station that once mocked Earth's reputation now tightened its security. Every broadcast showed the same image. Elias beside the beast, calm and unafraid. To the aliens, it looked like domination. To humans, it looked like understanding. On the far side of the Orion sector, inside a hidden Terran outpost, Elias finally made contact with home. The holographic screen flickered, and a woman's face appeared. Sharp eyes, dark hair, the emblem of Earth Command glowing behind her. "Dr. Corrin," she said. "You've caused quite a storm." Elias smiled faintly. "That wasn't the plan." "Maybe not," she said. "But you reminded them who we are. The Council has already labeled your species a psychological threat. Congratulations." Elias chuckled softly. "They're afraid of empathy." "Imagine that." The woman leaned closer. "They should be. You just made Deathworlder mean something again. Every broadcast, every whisper, they all see what we've always known. We survive not because we destroy, but because we endure." Ursa stirred beside him, resting its massive head near the human's feet. The creature's breathing filled the small ship like the sound of thunder from a distance. "They'll come for us," Elias said. "They will," she agreed. "And when they do, don't stop them. Let them see." He nodded slowly. Moments later, the transmission ended. Outside, space stretched endless and cold. Elias looked at the sleeping predator, his voice low. "You ready for another lesson, big guy?" Ursa's ear twitched, and Elias smiled. Back on Varanus Prime, panic was turning into strategy. The Council had gathered its fleets. Thousands of ships armed with plasma cannons surrounded the sectors near Earth. The Chancellor's voice boomed across the command deck. "Every myth starts with a seed," he said. "We burn the seed and the story dies." But even as the fleets moved, something strange began to happen. Communications officers started receiving hundreds of strange transmissions, not from human channels, but from alien colonies. Farmers, miners, traders, all speaking the same words. "The Deathworlder saved us." He spoke to the beast and it listened. Maybe the stories were true. The myth had become a movement. Meanwhile, Elias guided his small ship toward a blue-green world hidden behind a cluster of nebulae, a Terran relay base, old and forgotten. Inside, he found other humans, quiet, calm, watching the galactic news with faint smiles. A young officer saluted him. Sir, you really scared them this time. I didn't mean to, Elias said, sitting down. I just talked to an animal. Exactly, the officer replied. That's what frightens them. In the corner, Ursa lay down near the humans, surrounded by soft light and silence. Even here, the predator seemed at peace. Outside, across the galaxy, the word Deathworlder had taken on a new meaning. It no longer meant monster, it meant human. And for the first time in recorded history, the galaxy began to wonder if kindness was the most dangerous weapon ever created. The Council fleets arrived like a storm of metal and light. Thousands of ships orbited the Terran outpost where Elias Corran waited. The dark sky was filled with energy fields, and the hum of charged weapons echoed through the void. From the bridge of his small ship, Elias watched the massive holographic projection of the Council's fleet commander. "Dr. Corran," the alien's voice boomed, "you are to surrender the beast and return with us for questioning." Elias stood calm, hands clasped behind his back. "Questioning or execution?" "Depends," the alien said coldly, "on whether your kind truly is what the myths claim." Behind Elias, Ursa stirred. The predator's golden eyes glowed in the half-light, calm yet watchful. The ship's sensors screamed under the pressure of the fleet's scanners. Every cannon was locked on them. Elias spoke quietly, his voice steady. "You think I'm the danger here. You think humans are monsters? But the truth is simpler. We learn to survive in places that kill without mercy. We learn to understand what others fear." The alien commander's eyes narrowed. "Understanding does not make you harmless." "No," Elias said. "It makes us patient." Without another word, he pressed a control on the console. Across the system, thousands of small beacons activated. Holographic transmissions spread instantly through the galaxy. Every world, every colony, every ship received the same feed. Elias standing before the Council fleet, unarmed with the massive beast beside him. "This," he said to the stars, "is what you fear." Ursa stepped forward. The creature didn't roar. It didn't attack. It knelt, its massive form lowering beside the human like a loyal guardian. All across the galaxy, billions watched the impossible sight, a Deathworld predator choosing peace. Elias continued, "You tell stories of Deathworlders as monsters. You say we survive because we destroy, but the truth is we survive because we protect, because we understand pain, because we can look into the eyes of something built for violence and offer it peace." Silence swept through the fleet. On countless ships, weapons slowly powered down. Even the commander hesitated, his voice breaking slightly. "You can't expect the galaxy to trust your kind after this." Elias gave a small, tired smile. "I don't need your trust, just your memory. Remember this moment when your next war starts, when your next monster rises. Remember that humanity whispered, and the beast listened. The commander's image flickered, then vanished. One by one, the ships began to pull away. None dared to fire. None wanted to be the first to test what a Deathworlder might do if angered. As the stars cleared, Elias knelt beside Ursa and rested his hand on its head. "It's done," he murmured. The creature rumbled softly, its breath calm and deep. For a long moment, there was only silence between them, the kind of silence that comes after storms. Then, far away, across hundreds of worlds, a new saying began to spread among the people of the galaxy. Deathworlders don't rule worlds. They heal them. And so the myth ended, not in fire, not in war, but in a whisper. Humanity had become something more than a warning. They had become a lesson.